They say this is only a legend, a whispered story, a rumor carried through centuries. But legends always start from something, a spark, a moment, a wound. So before we begin, ask yourself, what if this story is not just folklore? What if it was real? What if one noblewoman, wounded beyond imagination, turned her grief into a vow of ruthless revenge? Tonight, we step into the shadows of medieval France. We travel back into chaos, into fire, into blood, into a time when honor meant everything. This is a legend of Marguerite de Bressieux, and some people swear it truly happened. One Phi, the world of the 100 Years' War. By one Phi, to understand Marguerite, we must first understand the world she lived in. 14th century France, the 100 Years' War. A war so long, a child could be born, grow old, and die, while the same war still raged around them. France and England fighting over crowns, lords turning on kings, alliances shifting like sand, mercenaries roaming like wolves. Nothing was stable, nothing was safe. Villages burned, castles fell, women and children were trophies of power. War was not noble romance. It was savage, brutal, animal. This was the world that shaped Marguerite, a world where noble families built stone fortresses, but stone walls could not stop hatred. And in this war, politics had teeth. Rebel troops did not always wear uniforms. Sometimes they were paid killers. Sometimes they were just bandits under a nobleman's flag. Violence was currency. Fear was a weapon. And in this world, one French noblewoman would soon lose everything she loved and become something the world was not prepared for. One Trefire, the night her world was destroyed. 1.5, Marguerite de Bressieux was still young. Her world was her parents, her castle, the gentle rhythm of aristocratic life. That world ended in one night. Rebel soldiers, loyal to Louis de Chalon, surrounded her family castle. At first it was only torches in the dark, then shouts, then screams, then flames. Stone walls shook under battering rams. The gates broke. They didn't come to negotiate. They didn't come to take hostages. They came to destroy. Marguerite watched her father and mother murdered in front of her, her ladies-in-waiting violated and brutalized. Marguerite herself assaulted, humiliated, and left alive, as if her suffering was a trophy. They did not know the mistake they had just made. Most people, after such horror, would simply break. Marguerite did not break. She buried her parents with her own hands. No ceremony, no priest, only rage. And that night, she swore a vow, not a prayer to God, not a cry for mercy, but a promise. She would become death itself. She would hunt the men who did this. She would not scream anymore. She would make them scream. In that single, savage night, a noblewoman died. A legend was born. One femme, the secret female army is born. By one femme, Marguerite understood one truth. No man would avenge them, so women would do it themselves. After the siege, there were other survivors, broken, violated, humiliated noblewomen who had lost everything. Marguerite gathered them, not to cry, not to mourn, but to transform pain into power. She took them into hiding, deep in the forests and valleys near the ruins of her home. There, Marguerite trained them. She trained them with the same martial skills her mother once taught her as a child: swords, daggers, bows, horseback combat. These women, once fragile, gentle, powerless, were becoming warriors. They cut their hair short. They bound their bodies into armor. Some even disguised themselves as men, so that no one could recognize them on the battlefield. Marguerite forged a code: no pity, no fear, no mercy for the ones who destroyed us. This was not merely a group. This was the birth of a hidden female order. Their enemies would never expect them. Their enemies would never see them coming. And soon, the men who had committed those cruel acts would learn terror. 1.5. Beginning the hunt, first blood. 1.5. Weeks later, word reached Marguerite. A small patrol of Chalon's men was marching through a narrow woodland road, heading toward a supply depot. Perfect. They were isolated, relaxed, not expecting danger. Marguerite and the women prepared. They positioned archers in the trees. They waited in absolute silence. They could hear the soldiers laughing, drinking, bragging. They thought they had destroyed all witnesses. They thought no one survived. Then Marguerite gave the signal. A rain of arrows fell from above, screams, chaos, confusion. The women warriors charged, sword to sword, steel versus steel. But these were no ordinary fighters. These were women who had nothing left to lose. Marguerite personally killed the captain, looked into his eyes, spoke her vow again. For my parents, for every violated woman, you will all fall. The survivors, terrified, tried to flee. None escaped. This was only the beginning. Rumors began spreading among soldiers. There are ghosts in the forest. There are phantom knights who hunt us. We are being hunted by demons. They didn't know the truth yet. Not demons. Women who had awakened. And the more Marguerite killed, the stronger her legend became. Her 1.5t, the legend that would never die. Aber 1.5. As months passed, armies began whispering a name. They did not call her Marguerite anymore. They whispered, the Red Lady of Bressieux, because after every victory, she left behind only two things: blood on the battlefield and silence. Her vengeance spread like wildfire across France and Burgundy. Whole units refused to march into certain regions. Knights refused orders. King Charles VII's generals began asking, who is this commander that is killing Chalon's men? But no one knew for sure. Some claimed she was a noblewoman. Others claimed she was a ghost. Some said she wore black armor. Others said she wore white, glowing with moonlight. No record proves the story is fully real. But hundreds of soldiers wrote letters home, terrified, saying, there is a woman commander, an avenger. She hunts us. Even after the war ended, mothers in old French villages told their children, behave, or the Red Lady of Bressieux will come for you. And that is how legends survive. They survive because they contain a truth deeper than history. People may forget facts, but they never forget the emotion of a story that should not be possible. Marguerite's fate is unknown. Some say she died in battle. Some say she disappeared into the mountains. Some say she lived under another name. But her legend still carries the same message. When evil believes it has broken a woman, it has actually created the most dangerous enemy of all.